Hi friends, this is me Prima, Immigration Consultant, Axis Overseas Careers. Today, I'm here with the FAQ of New Zealand's Competency Assessment Program for Nurses.
What is Competency Assessment Program?
The aim of the Competency Assessment Program is to enable successful applicants to demonstrate their ability to meet Nursing Council of New Zealand's competencies for the scope of practice to gain Nursing Council of New Zealand registration.
What is CAMP program in New Zealand?
The Competency Assessment Program enables registered nurses to meet competence requirements of the Nursing Council of New Zealand. Graduates can apply to the Nursing Council of New Zealand for a New Zealand Registered Nurse Practicing Certificate and can work in all healthcare settings.
What is the OET score required for New Zealand?
For OET, you must achieve a minimum score of 350 for each band. For IELTS, you must achieve a minimum score of 7 in each band of the academic test.
How do I apply for the CAP program in New Zealand?
You will need to provide the academic record or qualifications, evidence of current nursing registration, written notification from Nursing Council of New Zealand requiring you to complete a competency assessment program before registration, a written statement about your skills and experience, that is a cover letter.
How much are nurses paid in New Zealand?
The median average salary for a registered nurse in New Zealand is 75,670 New Zealand dollar per year, which is 37,000 higher than the national median average salary. Registered nurse salary range from 53,248 New Zealand dollar to 1,28,300 New Zealand dollar.
Are nurses in demand in New Zealand?
Demand for experienced registered nurses is good and expected to continue growing due to increasing need for nursing care as the population ages. Older nursing retirees. The New Zealand Nurses Organization reports 50% of the nurses will retire by 2035.
How long does it take to become a registered nurse in New Zealand?
To become a registered nurse, you must successfully complete a 3-year Bachelor of Nursing degree, which is level 7 on the New Zealand Qualifications Authority framework, or a 2-year Graduate Entry Master's degree, which is level 8 on the New Zealand's Qualification framework.
Which country pays nurses most?
The country paying nurses the most is Luxembourg. It pays the nurses $60,000 to $1,25,000. Currently, topping the list as the highest paid country in the world for nurses, this tiny country in Western Europe pays the nurses very well.
How can I become a registered nurse from India to New Zealand?
To become a registered nurse, you need to complete a Bachelor of Nursing or other level 7 or 8 qualification approved by the Nursing Council of New Zealand. Pass an assessment by an approved provider. Pass the Nursing Council of New Zealand examination for registered nurses as well.
How much does a nurse earn per hour in New Zealand?
The average salary for a registered nurse is $34.39 per hour in New Zealand.
Why is there a nursing shortage in New Zealand?
Nurses who immigrate already overworked and asking for more pay had been sucked out of the health system to staff vaccination centers and MIQ facilities. And the government's strategy was to ask those left in the health system to work even harder.
Can Indian nurses work in New Zealand?
Qualified nurses have many opportunities in New Zealand. To work in this beautiful country, overseas nurses should be qualified enough to meet the New Zealand standards and get registered with the Nursing Council of New Zealand.
Who is the best nurse in the world?
Florence Nightingale. Florence Nightingale certainly holds the honor of being the most famous nurse on our list. She became a nurse in 1851 and travelled to Turkey to aid British soldiers during the Crimean War.
What is the minimum score for OET?
Most recognizing boards and councils require candidates to score at least 350 in each of the 4 subtests.
Can I move to New Zealand as a nurse?
To apply for a working visa for New Zealand, you need to hold an offer of employment for which you are qualified, and there are no suitable New Zealand citizens available. As nurses are in such high demands in New Zealand, they fall into a special category.
What is the easiest way to migrate to New Zealand?
The easiest way to migrate to New Zealand is by the Refugee Quota Increase Program, Greenhouse Travels Program, Family Sponsorship, the Skilled Immigration Visa Program, Global Impact Visa Program, Live-in Caregiver Program, New Zealand Immigrant Investor Program and New Zealand Government Scholarship Program 2020.
Does New Zealand need more nurses?
Overseas nurses wishing to work in New Zealand also usually need to apply for a work visa through Immigration New Zealand. The Immigration New Zealand website states that 25,000 more nurses will be needed by 2030.
What qualifications do I need to be a nurse in New Zealand?
To become a registered nurse in New Zealand, you must complete a Nursing Council approved Bachelor of Nursing or Bachelor of Health Science program from a polytechnic, Institute of Technology or from a university.
How many points are required for New Zealand PR?
For the immigration program, you will need at least 100 points to be accepted into the pool. Currently, we are only selecting EOIs with 160 points or above.
What is the passing score for OET reading?
It is better to aim higher than aim for the absolute minimum. That means the passing grade for OET reading and listening is 29 out of 42.
How do I transfer my nursing license to New Zealand?
Complete a Bachelor of Nursing or other level 7 or 8 qualification approved by the Nursing Council of New Zealand, pass an assessment by an approved provider, pass a Nursing Council of New Zealand examination for registered nurses.
Is there a demand for nurses in New Zealand?
Aged care nurses are in particularly high demand. As a result, registered nurses appears on Immigration New Zealand's long-term skills shortage list. According to the Nursing Council of New Zealand, the number of registered nurses rose from 55,000 in 2017 to 57,833, including 2,500 enrolled nurses in 2019.
How long does it take to become a nurse in New Zealand?
When planning to study nursing in New Zealand, you can choose a 3-year professional degree at the undergraduate level that allows a student to qualify as a general registered nurse or offer master's courses that last for 1 to 2 years.
How do I know if I am eligible for New Zealand PR?
If you have a New Zealand residence visa and have been living in New Zealand for 2 years or more, you may be eligible for a permanent resident visa, which would allow you to travel to and from New Zealand at any time you like.
Is it easy to get PR in New Zealand?
New Zealand did offer PR easily to students once, but now it is difficult to get. Before obtaining points, the immigrant should also fulfill some requirements which are basic when applying for PR. Some of the basic requirements for applying PR in New Zealand are: the age of an immigrant should be less than 55 years.
What is the age limit for permanent residency in New Zealand?
The age requirement is unlike other skilled visas, there is no age limit for the New Zealand stream of the 189 visa, so this is a significant advantage for older applicants.
What are the requirements for permanent residency in New Zealand?
Meeting the criteria, you need to have your identity. You must provide proof of your identity. A character. You must be of a good character. Resident visa status. You must hold a valid resident visa or have held one in the last 3 months. Resident visa conditions, commitment to New Zealand, non-principal applicants, etc.
Does New Zealand give PR to Indians?
New Zealand PR process for Indian students like skilled migrant category resident visa. This is the best option for the New Zealand immigrants where you would first need to submit an online expression of interest. Once your expression of interest gets selected, you can expect a notification from New Zealand immigration within the next 2 weeks. So now, I hope that everyone is clear with the frequently asked questions of New Zealand. I'll be back with another video. Till then, bye-bye.